It's that time of year again where everybody suddenly discovers those Jim Henson Wilkins coffee commercials.
Oh, I saw that earlier, yeah.
With this camera, I shoot pictures of people who don't drink Wilkins coffee. I'm ready. Shoot. Anybody else?
It's like every year and a half, we all have collective amnesia. And I'm like, oh my God. I don't like being the person, everybody hates gatekeepers. I don't like being a gatekeeper. However, I do get annoyed when I put in the hard work my entire life and then now it's trendy and it's like, wait a minute.
Ooh, the Muppets.
Yeah, I was dealing with this shit in middle school.
Yeah.
Don't I get credit for... Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. As always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, we are going to revisit a little gem from 2003. I'm going to call it now. It was ahead of its time.
Way.
It was way ahead of its time.
Way.
The 2003 zany sex comedy, Down with Love.
I don't want love. It's against everything I stand for.
I've got her exactly where I want her.
Or maybe you just like spending time with her.
This is terrible. We're behaving just like two people in love.
Uh-oh.
Down with Love.
This is one of your favorites, correct?
So much. I love it so much.
Do you have like a starting point that you want to?
So I saw this movie actually with my parents. Where were we, like 18?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it was like the year we graduated high school. And they were like, let's go see this. Because it reminded them of stuff that, you know, they saw when they were young, that their parents had them watch, like Doris Day stuff. And so we went to see it and it was just love at first sight. I loved everything about it. I already loved Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor from like previous things. It just was perfect. It's like one of my favorite movies, like top 10 for sure of all time. Is it up here?
No.
I don't know where my copy is. I have a copy somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I remember when this came out, there were a handful of movies that came out in 2003 that kind of underperformed.
Yeah.
That kind of got swept up in everything. Things were changing. I mean, and some of that probably has to do with us being millennials and 2003 being the year we graduated and all that. But also, I mean, I think around the turn of the century,
God, yeah,
it's kind of a thing. Yeah. Like we had Robbie Williams on American radio. It was wild times. Rock DJ won Video of the Year.
That's right. That's a good song.
So I kind of remember it. I kind of remember being vaguely intrigued by it, but I never did see it. And there was something about it, and I think it was the sex comedy, the 60s. And it's sort of the like pre-sex comedy too. Like it was all innuendo.
Yeah.
It was like pillow talk, or I don't even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like directly inspired by all of the Doris Day and Rock Hudson movies.
I remember thinking it was stuffy. It's not. And I remember you having me watch it when we were in Hemingway, and I do remember enjoying it anytime, because we've watched it 3, if not 4 times. Yeah. And I remember enjoying it every time, but culminating with this experience, I have liked it more each time. Do you think that that's true of this movie?
It wasn't true for me.
Okay.
But that also could be because I had seen many Doris Day movies already.
I'm only really familiar with him in concept.
So
I've seen Bye Bye Birdie, and it's like that's a musical. No, but I mean it's that kind of.
Sure, but so the other thing is, like, I actually haven't seen very many Doris Day and Rock Hudson movies. My favorite Doris Day movie is called That Touch of Mink, and it's her and Cary Grant, and it's a little bit different, but it's a lot more like this than it is, I think, like her movies with Rock Hudson. But I was like a little bit familiar with the like vibe of them, because it basically was like the general gist of That Touch of Mink is that they like both sort of are into each other, but he's kind of a womanizer and she is from Upper Sandusky. And so only good girls come from Upper Sandusky. And so she like won't put out, and every time that they like are about to have sex, she breaks out in hives, and then like the spoiler at the end is that they like get married and then he breaks out in hives on their wedding night. It's just like, it's all very silly and you know, bonkers like that. So I was already like predisposed to this type of thing.
This until the very end follows the format of those.
Yeah.
And it isn't explicit in many ways, but it does push the innuendo much further.
Way further.
Way further.
There's a lot of oral sex innuendo that's like very, very intense.
23 inches, because I have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but up the whole way.
It stays up all the way, all day long, man. That's the miracle I was telling you about. Better living through chemistry. What do you got? 16 inches.
16 inches? How long does a man's hose have to be?
That's 32 inches of confidence in every step. Don't forget, I've got 2 of them.
They're so good together. And it's funny because I looked this up and it only has a 60 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's like that. This does not feel like it should be a skin of its teeth.
No.
Fresh. And the synopsis says, looks great, but Zellweger and McGregor have no chemistry together.
Incorrect.
And the self-satisfied knowing tone grates.
No.
It has a self-satisfied knowing tone.
But it doesn't grate.
And I will say that if it did, it lessens the more that because I frankly remember, I always kind of remember it petering out a little bit to the end. It's a wafer thin conceit, considering how convoluted it is. But your mileage may vary. It only goes so far, and I think there's a certain amount of heavy lifting that the audience has to do. Because she did this the same year as Chicago.
Yeah.
Or it was released the same year as Chicago. And there's a couple musical numbers in this, too, and it's sort of, I think it was. I really think it was ahead of its time. And I think about that now after watching Hannah Gadsby's Nanette.
Oh.
Because she talks about how nothing can be ahead of its time. And I definitely get what she means by that.
Sure.
But I do think that people can get to conclusions sooner than other people are ready for it.
I 100% agree.
And I think that if this was more in the back half of the 2000s, I wouldn't change it by much, but maybe like a solid 2007 or 8.
Yeah.
I think it might have landed a little bit
different. I tend to agree. I also the musical number at the end was not originally scripted. It was insisted upon by Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor because they were like, we've both been in musicals.
Yeah,
it's absurd not to put a musical number in here.
That's good. That's the right choice. I wish that this was a little more common. I wish that this sort of old Hollywood movie happened a bit more than it does.
Well, but it has to be, that's the problem. I think that is the big problem, is I think it has to be this tongue-in-cheek.
Well, I want both.
Yeah.
I want the tongue-in-cheek homages, but I also would love for a movie to come out next year starring the 2 biggest actors in the world and have it be as sincere as can be.
Sure.
Like with a straight 12-minute, musical or 12-minute dance montage with Misty Copeland. Because, I mean, the Hollywood heyday, it's the golden age. It's pre-television. So it's like when people were going out to be entertained, it was sort of an all-encompassing thing.
Yeah.
So you wanted your songs, your dancing, your acting, your everything, and even a couple of magic
comedy,
tricks.
drama, intrigue, everything. Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like we get these every so often, like a la 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 Land, or even like more niche, something like The Artist. But it's like I wish they were more than exceptions. I mean, not quite rules, but I don't know. I wish it happened more. I love the aesthetic. I love how fake New York looks the first time we see it.
Yeah.
I love all the green screening.
Sure.
It's like rear projections or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think they do actually green screen it in this movie.
But in the cars and everything.
Yeah, but it just looks artificial. I love all of the pageantry with Sarah Paulson and
David Hyde Pierce.
Well, yes, but no, Sarah Paulson and Renee Zellweger.
Oh, with their coats and their dresses.
There's no real reason for them to be parading around. That exists for the audience. That doesn't exist within the movie. Yeah. And
I just also do love that they're all like opposite color coordinated, because when like Renee comes in with the black and white houndstooth, and Sarah Paulson has the yellow, and then they take them off and Renee is yellow underneath and Sarah Paulson is black and white houndstooth, amazing.
And then the second one, they look like straight up like 1991 Barbies.
Yeah.
Like
one has purple and one has a pink. Like big
it's so good
thing. Yeah.
Sarah Paulson is so good in this. We had a conversation in the middle that doesn't really need detailing, but we were discussing whether she was a TV actress or a movie actress.
She's all of them. Sarah Paulson is an actress.
Well, this predates her as she's a name now, I would say.
Yeah. This is like one of the, I want to say this is the first thing I like. Oh no, I saw The Other Sister, but I think this is the first thing where I was like, that one. I was like, she's the one. Because she delivers so many lines in this that are so perfect. So many of the things. And she's got her little lisp and everything, and it's so cute. And her whole thing with Renee and her whole thing with David Hyde Pierce, it's just, she is top to bottom amazing in this movie.
It also feels, this is just an aside, but it feels wrong to me that Chenoweth isn't in this. I feel like she should be the secretary in the beginning, maybe.
Or she could have been one of the flight attendants.
Yeah. I love Jerry Ryan so much.
She's great.
And I don't know why. I mean, I'm a sucker for a tall blonde with big eyes, but I think she's so funny. It's Gwendolyn.
She's Gwendolyn, yeah.
And then it's Ivana
Milicevic, I think.
Milicevic.
Something like that. She's Yvette. And
She's
then there's
the French.
a Swedish one named Elke. And I don't think she's really anybody.
It's Melissa George.
Oh, is it?
But she has like one line. She's not, because I keep thinking Ivana's in 2 or 3 scenes.
Yeah, and so is Gwendolyn.
Well, Gwendolyn's in the movie.
She's like in the movie. Yeah,
she's like, and the blue, just that like powder blue eyeshadow, and it's so good.
I do want to say, I think my favorite outfit in the whole movie is the like, it's like a girdle almost, but it's like sexy when Renee gets out of the shower, and then she's got that sheer robe, and she like just floats down the stairs on it.
Well, and because the sets are very like clearly artificial, and the skylines, and
there's like something crazy like 50 sets that they built for this.
Is there
movie.
really? Yeah, they're all built.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm serious. The more that I've seen this, and the more time I've spent with it, and I feel like that happens a lot. Like I feel like there needs to be like a Rotten Tomatoes 2.
Yeah.
Where they revisit
the thing that you wrote the review about.
I think it would change.
I agree.
I really do. And that's I take critic consensuses a little bit more seriously than you do. You're very nobody they don't know what they're talking about.
It's not that I think they don't know what they're talking about, but I'm 18 years into my relationship with this movie that I loved from the start. And so it's the type of thing where you tell me it's 60% and I'm like, that's incorrect.
This is like 82%.
I don't believe you. Like, I don't believe that you watched it correctly. I don't believe that you knew what you were getting into. And then when you found out what you were getting into, it feels like you were mad that it wasn't what you thought.
Well, we've talked about this once before, but I have this theory where it's like, when you're watching something for the first time, you're coming at it with a perspective of entertain me. Like, here is something new.
Are you not entertained?
No, that I am about to appraise, that I'm about to assign value to.
Okay.
And when you revisit something, it's something that already exists in
your mind,
in our cultural story.
Okay.
I mean, and obviously, like, the prominence varies, but it's like, there's something about it that I think that people have reverence for. It's kind of like, I mean, when you're ranking thing, or I mean, we talked about this with Atonement, where there was like a ranking of dresses and they put that dress at number 1. And I'm like, you can't put the most recent thing at number 1.
Sure.
You need to see like its legacy for a while. But then to take that with this movie, to like appraise this upon its release, and then think about the time that it's parodying.
I see.
Or you know what I mean? So it's like, there's like now like 3 different contexts to watching something like this, because we're even a little bit more progressed past this part, because there's like the 1 or 2 gay jokes that are very funny. They're not offensive at all.
Great job, Maurice. Sorry if the guys in reproduction have been riding your tail.
Well, I'm not.
But I was like, I feel like those jokes would be different made today.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So it's interesting. David Hyde Pierce is
he's so good in this.
Very funny, very
so
cute. I said to you, I was like, I don't know that I ever realized. Maybe it's because I'm getting older.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't remember him being that cute.
He's cute. He's pretty cute. It was also, I think what's funny is both he and Sarah Paulson came out after this.
Yeah.
So they're like playing straight in this movie, but it's also because they weren't like publicly out yet, but it's just very, because that's what happened a lot of times with the sidekicks in those movies in the 60s, is they were also gay in real life. And I just think it's like, and even an extra layer that wasn't intended because no one knew.
I mean, maybe.
I love it. I just love it.
Ewan McGregor, do you This is a very specific, because I think he's a babe now.
I've always thought he was
Well,
a babe.
he's always a babe, but
do you want to talk about my ideal man? Because it's Ewan McGregor in this movie.
really?
This movie.
He's a little young. I like it, but he's a little.
This is after Moulin Rouge.
Yeah,
So,
well, he's a little young. I mean, he's right off the farm in Moulin Rouge.
He had made like 15 movies before Moulin Rouge. No, it's Ewan McGregor in this movie, and I think part of it is specifically the color correction that they use in this movie. It like he looks like, it's gonna sound weird. I mean, he looks healthy. He's got like slightly pink cheeks. His eyes have never looked bluer.
That shot that you like, they're the same color as the elevator.
It's so good. It is like they took his eyeball to like Lowe's and had them color match that, and then they painted the outside of the elevator. And all of his suits are so good, and it's so perfectly tailored.
I appreciate, because they strip him down the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, because he has a slight, I mean, he's a little bit more toned than people would have been in the 60s. But I like that it's not like, I like that it's not like
muscles.
Yeah.
He's the correct body type for this type of guy in the 60s. It's very Don Draper. He was never like, John Hamm was not like cut when he was playing.
Yeah,
Don
but
Draper.
he's also a little bit bigger. I feel like Ewan McGregor is skinnier.
He is, yeah. But I mean, that's also just like the way I think that they are. But no, and additionally, I think he suits the 60s aesthetic so hard.
I just like upholding this body type as as a masculine ideal. I think it's
like
a little bit
skinny.
It's a little bit nicer than some of the others that we don't have Zac Efron, who, let's be honest, could do this role at one point in time.
He absolutely could. He could have absolutely done this role. He would have been great at it. He's great at this. But yeah, I think generally the 60s aesthetic is my favorite part of this movie, and they all suit it so well. Like all the furniture, all the clothes, all the makeup.
There's a couple bits that are so funny in the like screwball sex comedy part, like when the couch eats Sarah Paulson. It's so, the way it's filmed too, because we really only see it like, we don't see too much of it. Yeah. Like, we only see like seconds of the couch like coming down on her and stuff.
Well, because he's taken over Ewan McGregor's apartment so that he can like seduce Sarah Paulson, and he doesn't know what any of the switches do because he doesn't live there. And so he's just like, she's like, how did you lose your built-in bar? And it's like those kind of things that she delivers so well. And so he's just like flipping buttons all over the place, and one of them makes the bed come, like the couch turn into a bed, and it just like lifts up and like knocks her over.
He's like, where are you? And she's like, I don't know. And there's so just smoke coming out from under them.
It's so good.
Yeah, there's a couple montages in this too. I actually, the one that I care for the least is the sex one. I think it's a little too contrived.
When they're both on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's a little too contrived. It's kind of like,
It might be fun to stay in. I'm in the mood for a home-cooked meal.
Major Martin, I have no desire to stay cooped up in the kitchen, slaving over a hot stove and a sink full of dirty dishes.
But I think
it's hilarious.
I love the getting ready.
Yes.
The fly me to the moon.
Yeah.
Because
that's when she wears the thing. Yeah.
It's Sinatra, and then the woman is Astrid Gilberto. And
her version is
love her version.
La 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 la.
The cutting back and forth between them and the whimsy and her it's so good.
She comes down her beautiful staircase, and the sheer robe is billowing behind
her. That's what you got me with, because when we watched this movie, you wanted to show me that scene.
Yeah.
And then you just made me watch the movie.
Yeah.
So there is the zany sex comedy afoot. It's pretty well written. It's very funny. It's very clever. It's very
it's a lot of puns and it's a lot of wordplay, which is like, because everybody rightfully focuses on her speech.
She gets a monologue.
Yeah. They did it 6 times. It only took 6 times, and it is one shot of Renee Zellweger delivering this monologue, and it's so impressive.
It's breathtaking.
But I think and then that gets a lot of credit, which I think it should, but even
even
more funny than that is the, like, you must know how things must happen, and it's just, they have this back and forth at the very end.
Oh, no, that one's incredible. No, yeah, I agree with you there.
What's your
thing?
I
was gonna say, she delivers this monologue, it's captivating.
It is.
That's an accomplishment. If an actor can, in a medium shot, can hold your interest for more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's not even an extreme close-up.
No.
Yeah, and she's the only one in it.
It's over 3 minutes.
She doesn't even move, looking at really.
And I think she deserves all the credit in the world for that scene. But I think the face he managed to conjure for, like, the 5-second reaction shot.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to hear all of this from me before you heard it from your private eye.
I couldn't do that.
Because as soon as she's done, he just is like, huh?
It's like complete bewilderment.
But he's also impressed and aroused.
But he's
scared. And scared.
It's so funny.
Very good.
It's kind of, it reminds me of the Bonnie Somerville trying to wink.
Oh,
it's like, I don't,
sure.
It had to have been easy for him to just make a face, but there's something about it where I'm like, I couldn't.
It's so underplayed is the thing. It's like, it's very, anybody could have been like, what?
Yeah, but it's like you reach a point there where that very next shot, it's like the success of this scene sometimes hinges on the very next shot.
Right. Yeah. She could have delivered that with the, like, gravitas of Laurence Olivier.
Such a plum.
Like,
and
then it's just...
No, so they do have the one at the end with the No and Now. The magazine titles are No and Now.
His magazine is called No, and her new magazine is called Now. And it's just back and forth and back and forth.
But they're back and forth. Their tete-a-tete also has the, like, words
No
now.
And Now, yeah. And you must know now how things are at No. Now that you've launched Now. It's just really, really clever and funny.
But you know you have to. And you know I know you have to. I'm sure you know how things are at No ever since you're new now.
I have no way of knowing how things are now at No. I knew how things were at No before now.
Then you should know now at No things are a lot like they are now.
And I think it speaks to how good they are together and how good they are separately, that they, you know, it is delivered so sincerely. It's obviously there for comedy, but they are not, like, winking the comedy at you. It's just, it's so masterfully done. I love it. And then when he like bites the chocolate and she's just like all so flustered and she takes the chocolate and like whacks it against the desk to open it.
Well, because him with the chocolate, you're waiting. You're like, how is he possibly gonna bite this?
Yeah.
That's going to be, because it's sexy is one thing. It needs to be sexy, of course. But what type of sexy is it gonna be?
Yep.
And what he settles on is just like,
the sexiest. As sexy as possible. It's so good. And he's also wearing like a really nice light gray suit and like a baby pink shirt underneath, and it's making his eyes pop, it's making his skin pop. It's just so impressive.
She has a dumb turban on the whole time.
I was like, maybe I should try. I was like, never in my life have I been sad I don't own
Every time I forget that she has the red hair at the end, because he's like, I need something in between a blonde and a brunette. And I was like, I love the ending. I love how sort of postmodern the ending is, that it takes it in a more feminist direction than the first 2/3 of the movie, but also that it doesn't feel out of place. And because it's not one or the other, it's both.
And I do like that a lot, because so many movies like this, or movies that were spoofing these kind of movies, would have been whenever they, like, when she has her big monologue, that would have been the end. They would have been like, oh, of course, it's all I've ever wanted. Let's get married and move to the suburbs. But she's like, oh, I actually realized in falling in love with you and making you fall in love with me that that's not what I want. I don't want you. And then she like pieces out. And I love that it has to come down to him being the one who's like, this is what I want. And I don't care what you do in the meantime. I just want you. You can keep your job. We'll do whatever. I just want us to be together. And I think that's what's really interesting is that he's the one who like changes his mind, essentially. I dig it. It's good.
And I think if WandaVision has taught us anything, I think when you're paying homage to these things, it is totally fine and oftentimes the point to lampoon them.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately and of utmost importance, there has to be an underlying love and celebration of. And I think that if you strip away all of the meta commentary, you need an actual good story.
And
you
I
need
think
a good
this,
movie
yeah,
first.
I think this story is good. I think we can't get out of this conversation without saying that Peyton Reed directed this, who directed both Ant-Man movies, in addition to other things, but
there's not like action sequences in this, but there's like set pieces.
Yeah, I just love I love when people like that have like a varied career, like where you're like, he made this little gem too back in the day. But yeah.
So I think we say that if you love this movie, then good on you. You're smart. Yeah. If you saw it and didn't feel much about it, watch it again.
I definitely.
And if you haven't seen it, then give it a shot. And like I said, I truly think this is one of the ones that that grows. I think the more I've enjoyed it more each time I've seen it.
I think you can pick up on more things as you go.
You get them all, but I think you appreciate them differently. Also, bring back men's garters.
I mean, I'm not so for that, but I think one of the things that works for me more every time is how he tells the one maitre d' to like spread the word that he's Zip Martin now, and then later after the like beatnik party and he's leaving and the doorman just goes, "We'll see you next time, Major Zip Martin," and he's like so deliberate about it. It's just, it gets me every single time because he's like leaning forward to shout it around the bush.
I also love that the easy part of her plan is enrapturing the entire world with this bestseller book.
And then it would only be a couple of weeks until I was a international bestseller.
That's funny.
It is really
That's
funny.
very funny.
She has to get on the Ed Sullivan show, which is like
get Judy Garland.
So hard. It was just,
those are the easy parts.
To me, this movie is deeply funny. I think it's also, I mean, if you haven't seen any of the like sex comedies from the 50s and 60s, do a favor and watch those too, because I think they're also really good. That Touch of Mink specifically. But yeah. Yeah, we definitely recommend it. If you have seen it or you're going to watch it, let us know what you think. And other than that, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching, Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. You can also reach everything from our website, soimwatching.com, including the YouTube, so you can look at our faces while we talk about stuff, if you so choose. And that is youtube.com/soimwatching. And other than that, just rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. That's it for us. Bye.